This project streaming.
Just take a moment and just reflect on what you just learned and relearned about yourself and the way you showed up in those conversations. Could you and your conversation partner kind of mosey on over to another dazzling duo and take a moment just to talk about what did you notice about this activity, this back-to-back, face-to-face activity. What did you notice, and what connections can you make between what we just did and this phenomenon we're calling relational leadership, whatever that means. What connections can you make? Okay? So if you could just slide on over and meet another twosome and tell them your name and then talk about what you noticed.
Go ahead. Pretend like I'm not here.
Oh.
To be serious for a second, I guess.
We now have to.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry, I should take it away. Should I take it
It
away?
was so much fun. No.
I think the stories, for me, were very symmetrical and built something. I think there was beyond the individual story and individual story, there was a meshing and a weaving and a creation of a new story about influence on one another, the power of that, the amount of influence and the boundaries of that influence. That it was a very powerful influence and I had to work our way through that influence.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yes. If you wanted to add to that.
Well, listening to you, I guess what comes to mind is adding to the story that now it's expanding as far as I'm concerned, is that it appears almost to be some universal truth. So I was thinking about our stories and what happened. Is that experience in Africa, to do like you do with AI, exactly the same sort of exercise, you will find the same things. Of course, taking into account the cultural differences, but it may be replicable even outside this room, outside as a wild white male. So I think that's the one thing I'd like to add.
I think those 1 minute stories, 1 minute stories are very intimate, like where your name came from or something. Actually, one of those very touching stories. Wow. And I think about our management practices and workshops or activities we might have done with people, and they say, well, I never knew that about you, or we had such a transactional relationship, and of course it only takes 1 minute to develop a fair bit of relationship with somebody that changes forever your relationship with them. So in managerial passing each other in the hallway, can't we spend just 1 minute to deepen a relationship?
According to the quality of the question and the space you give each other.
And the permission to do that.
Yeah.
Taking a moment to do that.
You know, one of the things I found interesting is the first question, talk about your name. You and I have done that with each other already. Talked to each other about our names, just kind of in a regular conversation. So it was interesting that that was the conversation. You know, that we kind of had that spontaneously already about our differences in our names and where they generated from. So.
And then building on what you said in the hallway, by the way, is actually what I do with conversation, even with customers.
Yeah.
Is that when we sort of step into the business, thing I tell customers, I say, well, just hold on. I'd like to know a bit about who you are, where you're from. You know, it's not necessarily the name question, but I do that. I really step back.
I was impressed when I went to a business meeting at Starbucks with their Howard and upper echelon, and they go, hang on, let's go have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So they don't want to jump into it. They want that moment of relationship first, and that's so much their culture. It's just amazing.
Susan Bethanis, I don't know if you know the name, her whole coaching model is in the moment coaching in the corridor, wherever, grabbing those moments to seize some sort of metaphor of the moment and what appropriate.
When I ask managers, why don't you coach more often, that's what they'll say, I don't have
No
time.
time.
And I say, well, how much time do you think is really required?
Exactly.
What if you had 3 minutes? What if you had 7 minutes? And then we'll practice it.
And Kristen, did you have anything to contribute?
I really appreciate that. Oh, our land went out.
Oops. We lost the connection.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I got it.
I really appreciate being part of your conversation. Thank you, gentlemen.
So perhaps we could open up to just hear a few of the things that you noticed or some of the connections that you created between what we did and this idea about leadership being relational. From someone in the room, what did your group talk about?
I mean, we talked about several things. We said that it's just a great way to introduce or to get to know each other, and it changes the atmosphere in the room. I always feel when I do that it's important that the voice, everybody's voice is heard in the room in the first moment, and that also makes a big difference. And then Mariela had that great saying also that it's wonderful that you introduce yourself by your name and the history that you bring, because it has a history, your name. And you probably can say it a lot better than I know. I can. And I don't know, I probably forgot, so please keep at it.
We talked about positioning as well, that you're not positioned by whether it's title or just a name, but a person. The different ways of telling your story, making space for that.
It took away the high.
What else?
Well, instant connection. Hearing the stories.
Speak louder.
Oh, it was just an instant connection, and an instant relationship is established.
One of the things that we talked about was that the first question, in some ways, was in a safe, sort of superficial zone, although you could go into a bit more depth. And the second question just plunged right into important information, personal information. But it was a natural progression. It was easier to do, perhaps, because we had done the first question.
So we talked about the importance of having, establishing that common connection, that commonality, the things we have in common, Boston Red Sox fans, and the ways in which that kind of eases the transition into finding out more about people.
I'm glad she didn't say she was a Yankees fan.
Yeah. Got one in the room.
That's pretty It's okay.
It's okay.
You're welcome.
Actually, I can't tell him, but I embrace both.
Glad you're staying.
Yes.
Also the physical back-to-back affirmation that I'm here, we're here. We couldn't have done it face-to-face. It would have been too much if we had done the physical thing like that. So doing it back-to-back, we are here in the room now. Also broke some or created some belonging together, or something like that, relating.
Can I just the physical side of it, because my experience sometimes when I work in the Middle East or so is that there you have to be really careful and you just have to give it as an option, or you can say you can maybe put the shoulder or the hand, because that would have been too much. So just something to keep in mind.
Always. Yeah. Absolutely.
Just the fact that we took the time allowed that connection to happen. I'm just thinking at work, we don't always take the time and span a conversation. Passing in the hallways.
Yeah, topic of conversation here. Took it to practical application, and the concept of being able to take a minute in the hallway or to take a piece of time to actually connect and set the context and ask the questions and listen and co-create something new. And ergo, sort of be able to coach in the moment and refuse the notion that it takes an hour or more to have a formal coaching session. Something can be created or co-created in a very short period of time if you design it right.
Yeah, hearing this design a lot. That's actually fascinating, right? The coordination in the group. We were quite good, actually.
I was really impressed.
We were really good.
As we walked into the space, Ginny and I came over together, and we both sort of went, so much for that plan. Yeah.
Never underestimate the power of people to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if, as we transition to this little action research project that Jacob talked about, if you want to just take a minute, either in silence to think about what's top of mind for you right now, or if you're someone who prefers to talk things out, as you get back to your chair, you could take a moment to talk with someone about, what's in your head and how this connects to your world. Take that minute while we get ourselves organized. All right?
There's the issue.
Yeah, that was they are here. They are here.
Maybe we should finally one at a time. Yes.
Oh, you're here?
Yeah.
You're next.
Yeah, so. Oh, can you get in? Hi, Annette. Yes.
There's no worries.
You need more space. Move me away. Hi. Hello.
Where am I?
You can see it down here.
Oh,
and
right.
it's really delayed.
Oh, it's delayed.
Are you guys in the picture? It's hard to know.
Yes.
Here we go.
Say hi to Ron in Israel is online, and I don't know who else is
Shalom.
Hi to Ron in Israel. Hi.
There's 7 other people online. I don't know who else.
And 7 other people. Hello.
Oh, you can see it here.
Yes.
So, you guys want to say hi?
Hello, folks. I suspect after this we'll have it. I mean, after this is all over. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, when we're back home.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
It'd be nice to.
I love it that we're
Yes,
online.
and I loved the session. You did a beautiful job. I love the stories, and I created such a space for that. It was. I was so inspired.
Oh, you were. And well, and then you helped kind of reframe a question I was trying to get to. So thank you for that.
Constantly.
Jazz players.
Oh, my 18-year-old said to me the other day, it really annoys me how the text one.
I'm relaxing right now, so I don't want to pick up the type from it. And it might be coming up for me.
What's all this jargon and stuff? And I said, hey, I'm just trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
The what? Yeah, we do. Oh, this is such a beautiful room. I love
that kind of demonstrates the difficulty.
You just want to say hi? Hello. 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 It's water. Say hi. There you go. There you guys are know that we're all. I know, I'm sitting here working away. Oh, that's so cute! I just saw you guys. Oh, so cute. It's that delayed. It was really
Yes,
cute.
yes. What was that?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, please. It's also I learned it today. My better side. I'm non-part side. And so I learned a position by video cam on the non-part side.
So what's your what's the non-part side?
Part.
Ah, okay, the side. So that would be my better side, right?
Well, you have to check for yourself.
And Georgia, yeah, that's great. What are you got your hands on?
I'm not sure. We're supposed to. There was a question about.
We were kept busy. Yes,
we were. Yes. Yeah, but we're doing other things. We're doing other things.
It is actually great to be a participant for a change again.
Yes.
It helps me. I learn a lot from it.
I think that's that's true.
And that's lovely because they come from knowledge.
We would like to invite you to participate in what we're calling a mini action research project around the focus of this theme session. And I call this particular way of doing this 369. The way I use it to tap into the wisdom in the room, I use this approach in order to make sure that we honor the voices and the diversity in the room in a way that's different than all of us just speaking out as a big group. I'll take a moment to explain how it works. All right. We have generated, amongst the four of us, 3 questions that we're really curious about. One of them is, given your own vision of relational leading, what stories can you share? What does relational leadership look like in action for you? That's one question that the four of us have. Another question we're really curious about is, if we take a relational approach to leadership, how are we to envision the activities of the leader? Ginny, list some of those kind of activities that we associate with what's expected of a leader.
Sure. Like, decision making, like communicating, like setting direction, like resolving conflicts, like securing resources, like and. Right?
So that's a big fat word. Activities of a leader. And then another question the four of us are really curious about is, how can we bring processes of relational leadership into being?
And that could include what are the resistances and potential possibilities.
And then we intentionally left a blank because we're wondering, is there a question alive in you that you're just deeply curious about around this idea of relational leadership? What question would you love to explore with this group that are here?
I would like to know, what relational practices from ancient cultures do you know that got lost over time, that you're familiar with? I know.
Let me see if I understood what you said, or if I heard you right. What relational practices from ancient cultures have been lost?
Yeah. that maybe people know about it because they have studied them or they just know about them. They're old traditions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just playing.
Yeah.
What goes beyond words in language and non-verbal that is also in play? In relation.
Can I ask you to stand right there in the middle? Would that be okay?
I don't think she heard you. Oh, maybe she
Here we go. Thank you. Just like right next to the flip chart.
I want to get what goes beyond words
And nonverbals. That's in play.
That might be.
That might be in play.
Mm-hmm.
Full questions, folks.
From an ancient culture perspective.
I'll get you.
Yes?
When we talk about relational leadership, I would be interested in thinking also about, is there such a thing, or do we have a conversation about relational followership?
So this, we'd like to add that in. This will be question number 6. Ask the question again.
something like what about relational followership?
Or if we're going to have a conversation about relational leadership, is there a conversation to be had about relational followership?
It's about relational leading, as I understand it. To be slightly different from leadership.
So, yes?
It's on the wordings, leader or leadership, was the second question. If we take a relational form, now the activities. Should we even just take that off? It's activities of the leader or of the relational leadership? How about of leadership? Would that look better to you instead of the leader? Well, we're saying if we take a relational approach to leadership, how are we to envision the activities of leadership differently? Does that work for you?
I think to frame this question, one should be in conversation in a way that seems fitting with you.
So this little description of how 369 works might sound a little bit confusing. Let me take a stab at it. I'll try and keep it to a minute or less, and then if you have questions, ask. You're going to choose one of those 6 questions that will become the focus of your little research team. You're going to be forming research teams around those 6 questions. There will probably be 4 or 5 of you working together around one question. We'd appreciate it if you try and make those groups relatively even. Okay? Once you've decided which of the 6 questions you're going to use as the focus for your little research team, you get 3 minutes together to strategize around how are we going to go out and collect our data? How will we dig up responses to this question? How will we organize ourselves and relate with each other and the others in the room as we go out to collect data? So you'll have 3 minutes in your research team to strategize. Then you'll have 6 minutes to go out and collect data from everybody in response to your question. At the end of 6 minutes, and we'll be pretty bossy pants about this, we'll be calling you back together, back into your original research team, and you'll get to share and synthesize and make some meaning together of what you heard. You'll have 9 minutes, and you'll also have a chance to offer your own response to your own question. And then you'll also come up with a way to share out to the bigger group what you learned, what you heard in response to your guiding question. 3 minutes, 6 minutes, and then 9 minutes. So the entire process, as we get ready to hear you share out, takes 18 minutes. And we'll hear from you what you heard. Question?
So, I'm trying to imagine being the one collecting the data, and everyone else is running around collecting data. It sounds
yeah, and that's why you get a whole 3 minutes to strategize.
You get a whole 3 minutes.
Right, about how you might want to do that.
Okay.
And I can promise you it will be chaotic.
You've done it before.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that other people are in other workshops. So, where do we take our search?
Right
here.
The kitchen?
Right here.
Right here.
Right here.
Right here.
Right here.
It's a 6 minute range.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's the
Yes.
important clarification.
Right here. I guess you could go out though and recruit some participants.
Out of other workshops.
You might not be very popular. Any other questions?
I wonder if it's useful or cheating as a generic strategy to say only send some of the people of your group out to gather data so that some people are available to be interviewed, because if everybody's going to do interviews, then we're all interviewing.
Alan, you already into strategizing.
You're
strategize, come up with good ideas. How you manage this. So,
Exactly.
we need you to go into groups.
We do, and you get to pick one of these 6 questions. Now, my suggestion would be,
Why don't we put a number, just number the tables around, and then you
good
go to the
idea.
one that interests you. And that would,
Yes.
that's great.
so the first one over here, given your own vision of relational leading, what stories can you share, and what does relational leadership leading look like in action? 2 is the table where those 2 guys are right now.
Ron and Alan.
Ron and Alan. If we took a relational approach to leadership, how are we to envision the activities of leadership differently? Then we've got number 3. How about sort of towards the back of the room? How can we bring processes of relational leading into being? Number 4, kind of over here, what relational practices from ancient cultures have been lost that you know could resurface? And number 5 up here, what goes beyond words and nonverbals that might be in play with relational leading? Okay?
And then question number 6 could be over in this carpeted area. They could meet over there. Is there a conversation to be had about relational followership, and what might that look like? I'd like to add that to that. What might that look like? You get 3 minutes to strategize, but we'll give you a minute to self-organize into your question.
Well, if there's a group that wants to have a couple online participants with you, let me know. Otherwise, they can form a group on their own.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you for the treat.
I have an idea about the agents.
Yeah, okay.
You can research me.
All right, good.
Are you number 5?
Can't decide.
On which group? Yeah.
Where are you going? I don't know yet. Where are you going?
I want to go with you.
You know how loud these things. No, I don't know. You're so cute.
I cannot get
get anything for every session, especially when they're inviting us in. And we're waiting for
Well, I think that's and so actually a question I have is, and that's why I think I might go to either the first or second one because I want to bring some narrative stuff.
Want some online participants? That's what's missing. Okay, so what I would do is turn the videos on.
One or two.
And then I'll let you know. Yeah, so they're right here.
Okay.
Here's the group. Actually, the two. I guess you can use them to go to data to get online. Yeah. Or to their family or whatever.
So 3 minutes to strategize.
Okay, so we'll do some
How you're going to collect data.
Where are they? Do we know?
Let me see. Ron is from Israel, and Nina, let me see where Nina is. She's a lover of learning and exploring our collective constructions of human experience, academic. She's where Nina's from, though. Oh, there we go. North Carolina.
Okay. So why are we seeing ourselves instead of them? Are they coming on?
No, they'll just see you.
They'll just see us.
I'll see their posts and stuff on here. I'll let you know. I'll be them.
Okay.
So let me see if they're okay with this. I asked them and they haven't responded when I made a choice for them.
Okay.
Ron is fine with simply waiting for the groups to come back.
Okay.
So and then Nina hasn't responded yet.
Okay. So.
Well, they could watch you.
Okay. All right. So can they see both of us? Because that would be nice. Because I don't think they can right
they
now.
Can't see her.
You can see down there at the bottom.
Oh, I see.
Oh, it's always this thing here.
Okay.
I keep forgetting.
There you are.
All right. Should we tell them our names first?
Yes.
So that they know.
I'm Ellen.
Hi, and I'm Annette from Germany. Hi.
And let's make sure we keep getting
All right.
them in there. Yeah, there you go. Oh. There.
Good. Great.
So, where shall we begin? Why don't you talk a little about your ideas?
You know, I brought up that idea because I often feel that we alienated ourselves more and more over the centuries, and so I'm just wondering, you know, if some of you know about old traditions, old relational traditions that got lost, you know, and that we could introduce again. And I was just one I came immediately to my mind. It's not that old. It's about the talking stick that American Indians used to do and still probably do. So just, you know, collect these kinds of examples. That's, I think, what I was intended.
Okay.
What I had intended. Yeah.
For me, I do work with restorative justice and healing circles in the United States with prisoners and people who've committed crimes and with people who've been victims or survivors of crime. And I'm fascinated by the importance of healing circles, which again is an old tradition, and a new tradition now. So I think it's important, really important, to acknowledge the ideas that have come before us, that are rooted in the good ideas today.
And how does a healing circle work?
So usually what happens, I'll talk a little bit about what happens with a young person, for example, who has stolen something from another young person in school. So the incident comes up, and instead of going to jail, the young person who has been the person stealing comes to a circle with his or her mother and a father, if the father's available, community people, and the person who's...
Stop for a second.
You get 6 minutes to collect some data, and we're going to remind you there are some virtual participants who would love to be interviewed and included. So as you're thinking about collecting data, from your colleagues. There are also a couple of people participating virtually.
And quite a few people on chat. There's a huge group on chat.
Yes. Okay. So we could probably just sit here and talk to our wonderful people online. I'm thinking the way to do it is with people's memories, but also perhaps if people could think about traditions from their own ancestors or their own cultures, that might be useful. And it doesn't have to be centuries ago. It could be 100 years ago or 50 years ago. So, okay.
So I know that there was somebody from Israel, right, online. So I don't know. Can we see already if there are some responses?
Yeah, you can see in the chat area.
Okay.
You can type in the chat area.
Okay. So let's see.
I would like to
Could send us. Oops. To where is the delete? Okay, send us your ideas about
relational leadership in
about traditional
relational practices. Yeah.
How have you observed
relational leadership?
Oops, I'm sorry, I'm not. Okay.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Less than a minute. Do you want me to go off, or would you like to go off?
Why don't I go off? And
Okay.
you can, yes.
All right.
Okay.
And can Linda ask a question to the group?
Sure.
Okay. It is their group.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Hi. Oops. Do I have to sit in front of this camera?
Yeah, right,
You have to look here.
Okay.
This is where you are right there.
Hi. I have a question from my group, and I would love your input. The question is, tell me a story about relational leadership in action. So a story that illustrates what relational leading looks like.
And ask them to post it in the discussion area.
And please post your answer, your story, in the discussion area. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. What am I looking at? The camera? That's the camera. Like a Skype.
So your practices are traditional or ancient or older, or even not so old. Practices, relational practices that are effective that you might have forgotten or want to bring back. So perhaps from your own cultural tradition or something you've heard of. Yes.
I think, one of the things that we talked about when we came to this country, the talk.
Oh, yes, of course. I've just never heard it. I've heard it as interpreted.
If you look at the community meetings, and a lot of them have been written about these community meetings, but not many people have actually taken advantage of it. Today in organizations, we see people saying they're having town hall meetings, and only the leaders are invited to those town hall meetings. So, the real town hall meetings open, organization, everything's communications with everybody. So that's one of the things I think, we've lost along.
That's really good.
And the Chautauqua groups have been called, I think, back in the days, because they started in Chautauqua, New York.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So that's one I can think of.
Okay, thank you.
You know, it's where you basically engage with other people to determine course of action or to learn something. So it's about engaging other people in the process with you rather than making decisions on your own. Every decision you make, you say, well, does this have relevance to other people? If it does, I need to engage involve them in relational practice. One good example is setting a vision. You know, a leader just doesn't say, this is my vision, and try to sell it to people. The leader should engage people in the process of discussing what's important, what kind of future they would like to see. And then crafting the vision together, then that makes that vision meaningful for everybody.
Sorry.
Leaders are trying to tackle
let the process to do that. Yes. The trust is it's steady.
There is a tradition of being in time, meaning spending time with those who prefer to influence. Instead of like scriptures, the teachers doesn't have an answer, but rather be something.
Stay on the mat. Stay together in conversation and not shy away from the difficult Thank you, Kirsten. Oh, good idea. Okay, so Nina said she'll respond. And do you want me to ask Ron to respond to Can you picture it?
Just in time check?
Okay.
Another 30 seconds.
So I get extra 3 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I build it in there. Nina's responding to you right now.
To me?
Yeah, she said she would respond to this one, and then she said I was trying to respond to the one about muscle hand.
How is this working?
Oh, online. I think, you know, it's a hidden consideration that like all of us
It is difficult, the online thing, because you respond to so many people at the same time. It's not. I love it. I'm happy that I have the chance to kind of practice that a little bit.
They might be in the chat room.
That's almost like leader and
there's all these people around
learning together.
Okay, here we go.
In those days, it was part of the process.
Any ideas from you around lost relational practices?
From First Nations, Canadian, Indigenous people, we will often say at the end of the conversation, we need to talk more about this. So, folks,
Here's Ron's. Did you get Ron's response?
boy, I want to acknowledge how uncomfortable it is to interrupt you. I feel anxious interrupting.
Yes, but you do it so well.
Yeah, and I'm just acknowledging my feeling of awkwardness. And it's time to go back into your original research teams.
We've got so many
And
good
I'm
ideas.
realizing
We have
that
such
some of you
smart
didn't leave
students.
your teams, which is just right. Just fine.
Yeah, that's some nice ones.
And
Also great.
you have
I'd
time
love to hear about them. Yeah.
to share what you learned, what you heard,
Information people.
what your perspective is on the data you've collected, and you have time to talk among yourselves and create a way to share back to the bigger group in response to this question that was guiding our inquiry. Here's what we have to share with you. Here's what's becoming clear to us. Or not. Or getting murkier. Yeah? Does that make sense? And in 9 minutes, I'll be interrupting you again.
Right.
And it'll be rude. It might feel awkward again. And then you'll share out to the bigger group. Yeah.
It's too bad that we cannot talk to
I
them.
know, I'd love to be able to talk to you guys. Yes, can they hear us? Oh, they can't hear us either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see.
And then, what did I just say?
Oh, did you
No, I
get
think
disconnected?
this computer just, this is my, Henry's computer, so I just kind of.
Oh, they do hear us. Oh, okay, they do hear us. This is
Okay, great.
Well, we're very grateful for your help.
Oh, Linda.
And we got some great suggestions on this end. So we can tell them.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll summarize. I went around and talked to people, and we had great suggestions, no duplications. The first person I talked to was one of our wonderful online champions, Chris. And he suggested, he talked about de Tocqueville coming to the U.S. and looking at community meetings, and talked about how they really were very different than they are today. The community meetings that de Tocqueville witnessed really included the entire population and not just the leaders that we do today. So, and he pointed out it comes from Chautauqua, New York, number one. And then one of our people suggested the Maori tradition of touching noses to bring, to exchange spirits, each other's spirits, which is known as hongi, Hongi. The third was the way that ancient Greek mentors mentored their mentees by getting to know them as people. There was mention of drinking wine and sitting under trees and sharing communication and connecting in a way that the person, Marianne, didn't feel was going on today. The fourth was, again, talking about a similar process that Michelangelo and the artists of his day shared. And the final one was similar as well, only Ken talked about the tradition of the guilds, where they were more like families than factories, that people were brought in and nurtured and raised, in his expression, like flowers, so that you really got that kind of process from the person who was mentoring you.
Nice.
Okay.
And right, I probably have to move in.
Yeah.
And here's Annette again. So I don't have as many as you.
That's okay.
But we have the talking stick. Some of you might be familiar with, that in Native American tradition, usually you had a stick and you passed it on, and then that was your talking time. And Jakob actually added on to that, and he said sometimes there was one person who distributed the stick. So it just wasn't going from one to the next person, but somebody was distributing the stick. And yeah, and then we had, but that the being in time that was mentioned from, let's see, who brought that to us online. I love that. So you also learn about that. Janine, no, was that? No, that was further down. Yeah, I think it was Janine, right? Janine, where are you from, actually? West Africa, in West
being
Africa.
In time, spending time. Sure, yes, we will. So Janine and Ron.
Okay. So Janine had the being in time, which I think was a wonderful one. And she also added to the community leaders that they really spend some time in their communities. It's like nowadays that would mean walk the floors, walk around and talk to your people.
Right.
And and the Jewish tradition. Ran had something that it is not about teachers having the answers. And that reminded me, by the way, again, Ron, about the Aristotle traditions, where it was all only about questions. You know?
Right. And Aristotle.
Let's see, what else do we have?
Questions.
And sorry if I forgot maybe somebody, but I just see the challenge of being or focusing on so many different channels. That's interesting. You know, the movie, the writing, you, the others, myself.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any other guilds? Great. We got a response from that.
Thanks, Janine, for your answer.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Really good.
What is guild? Oh, that is the
guilds. Yes.
Okay, you draw guilds, right?
Yes.
And I've done that actually, Brian. That's great that you remind me of that.
Yes.
I've done it once in the leadership program that everybody had to write or draw a guild to express themselves. Cool.
Great. Okay. And now we have to put this all together and say yes. And I'm going to mention a few traditions, the healing circles that we now are doing today around restoring justice in a community, and that's happening in prisons and jails. It's happening in schools. That is a very ancient tradition that we strive to be true to, where everyone who is really involved in a situation, not just the person who has committed a harmful act and the person who's been harmed, but everyone in the community who has a stake in seeing healing there would be involved. And that harkens back to a lot of indigenous practices. Also, we work with victim-offender dialogues, which is a one-on-one process with a person who is, in a sense, the leader, but who guides the process and does not give the answers, but works with the two people to find the answers. So. Now, what are we supposed to do with all this information?
We just collected it.
We did. We collected it. We put it together. We have many good things to talk about. Oh, there's also a process, okay. Burkina Faso. Okay. Sitting in silence while in nature with a particular question. Yes. Okay.
Janine, do you know Sobonfu Some? She comes from Burkina Faso. I love her books. In case you don't know her, I think you might love her books as well.
Nature. Good. Wisdom circles. Okay.
And if you could keep it to sort of a minute or two of what
very short.
We appreciate that.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful practice. Okay. Saging.
Saging International
is using wisdom circles. Okay, thanks, Brian. Yes, great, thank you. And where is Brian from? Brian is okay. Okay, good.
So the name is Sobonfu Some, and I just typed it. But I think Sobonfu Some, maybe with an accent aigu in French. I don't know what that is in English. But you should find her. She wrote, for example, a book that is called Falling Out of Grace.
Good.
So I think when we report out now in a second, I am actually wondering, we cannot hear your voices. I would have loved you to participate in the report out somehow.
Yes. Where are you from, Brian? There's a Brian? Yes, there's a Brian. Let's see if Brian answers.
Oh, Brian's from New England.
New England, okay, great.
But could we have them in the future, even though if it's not today, could we have them also, so that they can maybe also report out a few things? And if it's just that Brian and Janine just share one of their ideas themselves,
Yeah.
Have them post their Skype and I can join them in a Skype
Thank you,
chat.
Brian, upstate New York.
And if any one of you, Brian, Janine, or Ron, if you want to maybe help with a report out, we only have 1 minute though, so we're just going to be quick telling them the different things that we're collected. But it would be cool to have you on Skype and hear your voice actually,
and hopefully for you to hear the reports from other people. So that's good. Brian, my daughter is at Ithaca College in upstate New York.
Ithaca?
Yeah.
Well, I taught there, but
it's a great place.
You teach everywhere.
Yeah.
So tell them to post their Skype and I can have them Skype. I would wake everyone up and
right. Yes. Yes, good. Okay. Well, we've had a great team. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. What?
So I got a whole
Actually,
there's something happening.
yeah.
Streaming.
Actually, in 1998, I helped to organize a conference called Critical Resistance, and we had the participation, the active participation of about 6 prisoners from the county jail in a dialogue that happened. They were online, and people were in the audience, and it was very interactive. So that's great. Okay.
What is that? What is Ithaca?
I love Ithaca. Yes, I just said that my daughter is at Ithaca College.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I think we have a number of good practices here.
So would you want to go ahead and
Sure,
report out?
I'll do that. And do we? I think I have everything.
I think so too.
Okay. Yes, we got Brian. And, that was from
All
Gergen.
right, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll be reporting out in your spirit.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
So Brian's going to join in, right?
Brian, are you joining? Oh yeah, there you go. Grandpa Brian McCaffrey Scott. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, thank you all. Okay. Yeah, and Janine is okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Maybe we'll be able to eke out a few more minutes because we have somebody online.
So that we have the
yes.
And if not, let's try to be. Sometimes it can be just
right. Yes. Okay.
And then he can add one.
Yes. He can do his saging one, which would be good.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
should I kind of carry it around?
It doesn't have a lot of Ethernet
because it's
cord.
gonna.
Maybe if you want to look and see how it's shown up. So you know how to do that. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Oh, good. Okay, 10.
Good.
Okay.
I'm so glad that you could join online, and I still want to talk to you about motivation as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over to your team.
And Brian will do our 12th practice. Good. Oh, and the talking stick. 13 practices. Okay.
Yes, I'll call you back to video call.
And you mentioned, who was it who embellished the idea about the talking stick? That was
just, I think, Native American tradition.
Right, but then there was somebody who said there's a person who brings the stick around.
Oh, that
was somebody.
Jacob Adams.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hand over to your team. Looks like your video's initializing.
So what we'd like is to see if you could reconform yourselves in a sort of a circle or an open space where we can all see each other and reconnect as a full group. So pull ourselves together, please, into a full group.
Okay, so I'll go back to the whole group here.
I'm very sorry. Is it yours?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my black bag. You can just put it on the floor. It's okay. Thanks.
Yeah. There's a delay. I have moved it
All right, so we're just reconforming into a bit of a circle so that we have a chance to see each other and hear each other. And we'd like to ask each group for their very brief sharing back into the circle for what it is that you learned in that little mini research project about your questions. And then when we're finished with that, we'll have a chance for some full group dialogue and to hear a bit from Karen, Jakob, and myself. That will be how we will finish. So, if we have a group on question number 1, that would be us. I guess since I took the notes,
All right, so we had a very rich discussion about sharing what we found, and it was a blend of stories and nuggets of stories or attributes that kind of all came into this soup of understanding. And so from the virtual conversations, there was a very an organic example of a very powerful leader of relationship that was skilled at building community and being an advocate for women, and that we need each other to make this better. There are ideas of playing with inside organizations as a way of, I guess, playing in terms of inviting relationship and leading that way. The idea that, position is not a given. A couple of people brought that up in different ways, that the leader emerges based on the need or the context or the content of the group, and it's not always the same position, and that's part of that relational leadership. Conversation has a flow to it, and there's need to discuss within the organization how we live that. Another theme that came up was form follows function. Based on the needs of the group, a different form of relational leading arises. The use of stories as a way of creating relational leading virtual form, and partnering to create powerful relationships and therefore powerful presentations or I guess movement. The strong intellectual background and some of the strong experiential background, partnering together to co-lead and move things forward. So, awesome. Anything else? Hey. Number 2. Do we have a group working on? Is that you guys?
Yeah. I'm going to begin. Maybe my colleagues will help me. We didn't narrate complete stories, but just present or develop experiences from the personal background. We divided in between 2 small groups, and then we put in common what we develop in each one. Am I talking clear for you? Thank you. In the first place, we accept that an activity of collaborative leadership is listen actively. Another one is
an activity of a position of respectful. The third one thing up here is that to have values in relationships or relational values in other things to inspire collective actions, to engage collectively, brings out the better of each